Shabbat Tov. So we're going to now broaden our scope, right? And we've been, we've been getting sort of leanings and questions in this direction. Let's put just some background to it. So let's say you have a situation where the father and son are going in different directions in life. Let's say. Now, when the father and son, if the father and son are going in different directions, the question is, how do we qualify that?
You're talking about a business, or you're talking about
I'm going to be more clear. Right now, I'm saying, let's start with the general perspective of different directions. Let's start with that. Okay, so you would say, based on the halachot we learned so far, that if generally speaking, the father and son, morning, all right. I don't know if I got you on the chat. Did I?
No, I'll take it.
Okay.
We'll take it
All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. So if the father and son in general, both very good people, are going in totally different directions to a point where, if they're going in different directions in general, does it compromise any of the questions or laws on kibbutz avim? Of course not. Very good. Nothing to talk about. What if they're going in different directions and it creates different value systems, David? They're going in different directions and it creates different value systems. Now, does that change anything? Should it change anything?
give an example.
I'm going to give an example on it, but I want you to answer the question as a straight line question first. It should not change anything. Very good. Good. Now, what if the different value systems have to do with Torah? Now what? Now, again, don't back off the answer you gave me a second ago, right? If the dad and son, let's say, going in different directions, does that have anything to do with a biblical commandment? Zero. Very good. If the dad and the son are going in different directions in terms of a value system, it still shouldn't, doesn't, not shouldn't, doesn't, but would it become more challenging? It might. Okay, now let's look at this case that Maran brings down. He's saying that a son is invited to his father's house for Shabbat, for the Shabbat meal, let's say for the Friday night meal, and the son is Shomer Shabbat, and the father is Mechalel Shabbat B'Farhesia. What does that mean? He publicly, deliberately, intentionally, deliberately, publicly violates Shabbat. There's not someone who at home does this or that or not. This is a person who knows what he's doing and goes out and is Mechalel Shabbat. Okay. The son is there for the meal. Very good. Now you have an interesting question. Generally speaking, we want to make Kiddush on Friday night on wine that's not mevushal. Very, very important. That's why you'll see over here, Shabbat they'll use grape juice. We know a number of the previous generation in this country would use grape juice rather than wine on Friday night now in their homes because it's not mevushal. It hasn't been processed. We want non-processed wine on Friday night, and it's a big deal. The challenge with it, and we should all do that. We should all do that. If you can't find non-mevushal wine, most of the wines in America are mevushal because when a goy picks it up, now it's like yayin nesech, and with the housekeeper, it's a big problem. So that's why most people went to mevushal wine, and the overwhelming majority of wines that were produced mevushal, because in restaurants you have goyim serving them. At home you have a housekeeper moving the bottle from here to here, putting the bottle away. Very good. But al pi halacha, we should absolutely, unequivocally have a non-processed grape.
Because it's no doubt.
That's right. Very good. So therefore, if it's a question in our time, you would go with, a lot of people go with grape juice. Okay, now, the question becomes like this. The son is invited to dad's house for the Shabbat meal. Okay, Okay, very good. The son understands his obligations with Kibbud Av. Of course he does. He should, right? The father in this case knows what he's doing. He's Mechalel Shabbat. He knows what he's doing. And he's not, he's not shy about it. So you have a situation where if daddy picks up the non-mevushal wine, and he makes kiddush on it, now we have a problem. Because when a Mechalel Shabbat b'Farhesia picks up a non-mevushal wine and makes kiddush on it, now it becomes yayin nesech, like the wine used for idol worship. So now we have a problem. I can't use wine that I would use for idol worship for kiddush.
Just because I know it's public, but that really turns into the nesach. It's not a goy that's doing it.
Excellent. So hold it. We're going to flesh it out a little more. But on the surface level, as our opening foray, right? I have father and son going in different directions. In this case, the different directions are more extreme than whatever. They're somewhat extreme. Let's say the father is not, it's not that he's building himself on Shabbat and growing and becoming. The father knows the story and is going out and does what he wants to do. The son now is coming to his house for Shabbat. Generally speaking, they know the law, and they've been making kiddush on non-mevushal wine, the non-processed wine. But now the son has a problem. If daddy picks up the non-processed wine and says kiddush on it, it's as if, and we'll flesh it out more, it's yayin nesech. It becomes the wine of idol worshippers. And how are you making kiddush on that wine? And was anybody yotzei yedei chava on the kiddush? Did people fulfill their obligations on the kiddush?
Lots of questions.
Yeah.
Lots of questions.
I love it. I'm happy there's lots of questions. Good.
And the son knowing what his father's going to do, bring his own wine.
Excellent. Let's go through the questions. Beautiful. Question number one is, the son knowing where the father is at that point in his life, should he bring his own wine? He tells him, Daddy, you know what? I got this new wine. I'm going to bring it. And he brings a wine that's mevushal. So now if he brings a wine that's mevushal, do we have the problem of yayin nesech? Beautiful. We do not. Now I have the processed wine. If the goy or the overtly person who's violating halacha picks it up, I don't have a problem. So now, I got past my yayin nesech issue, but I have a little bit of a ding in my kiddush, right? Because I should have said kiddush, a non-mevushal wine.
Say kiddush before you go.
Huh?
Say kiddush before.
I'm sorry?
Say
How am I going to say my kiddush before? Where, at home? In my house? I have to say kiddush where I eat.
So say it, whatever, right before you walk in with the knowledge.
Okay, so you would say the kiddush before. We're trying to find a way of not, but what you would suggest, you know what, I can't solve the problem. Say the kiddush before. On your own wine, whatever daddy does, he does.
Oh, you could say kiddush like in an undertone while dad.
Oh, very, very nice. I could say kiddush in undertone. But the wine, beautiful. So I'd have my own wine. Love it. Beautiful. Take my own cup, not so overt, not overtly disrespectful. Take my own cup and say the kiddush in an undertone. Beautiful, yeah.
Depends how the father takes it.
Huh?
Depends how the father takes that little.
Right.
side action.
Now you're suggesting that you're going to do it very low key.
Doesn't matter. I'm not good enough for you. I'm your father.
There you go. Okay, there you go. That's why we're bringing it up. Okay, that's why we're bringing it up. Okay, but so now let's see. Let's say the father would notice, right? Okay, beautiful. So now let's see how Maran phrased it. Yeah.
Why can't you say kiddush in the hike? Offer to say the kiddush for the family.
You could offer to say kiddush for the family. You could. But Dad says, I'm the father. I'm saying kiddush. Good. That's another option. Say kiddush. Offer to say kiddush. המתארח בשבת אצל אביו מחלל שבת פרהסיה ואביו מקדש על היין בליל שבת. Right? The father wants to make the kiddush. לכתחילה יתח עמו יין מבושל לבית הוריו. What does that mean? take the mevushal wine. Hi, good morning. Take the mevushal wine to his parents' house. Yeah, David, take the mevushal wine to his parents' house. Good. Kadesh aviv yakadesh al yain mevushal. So now we're gonna avoid one stumbling block. The father is getting mekadesh on yain mevushal, right, on the processed wine, and therefore the concern about this wine being, this wine being,
Assuming the father goes for it.
assuming the father goes for it. Very good, excellent. V'yomar la'aviv sheyachaven lotzio yidei chovat kiddush v'hu yachaven latzet. And this speaks to what you were saying a few minutes ago. You have another challenge here. If the father is mehalel Shabbat v'ferhesia, right? He publicly violates Shabbat. Does he know that he has to have in mind that to be motzi his son on the kiddush, that he's saying it on behalf of his son as well? Therefore, what do we do in that case? You say it quietly under your breath, right? So, step A is the son's going to bring yain mevushal. I missed that challenge. Step B is the son is going to say the beracha, the kiddush, under his breath. By the way, this happens. It happens not only with parents and children. You know, we have, and this is something that I feel very, very strongly about. My rabbi would feel very, very strongly about. He made this impact on me decades ago. You never, ever, ever embarrass a host. Ever. You never embarrass a host. And you rarely, if ever, decline an invitation. And this was very, very important. Therefore, if you go into somebody's house who doesn't really say the kiddush all that well, or when he says the kiddush, he doesn't really have in mind to be motzi to everybody else in the room. So David's point, I say it with him. I say the kiddush with him. Okay, very good. So in this case, he reminds Dad that everybody is, that he should have everybody in mind. Okay, great. V'im en sham yain mevushal. Don't sketch me. Right? Don't bring your processed wine. My father and his father and always made kiddush on something non-processed. That's what we do. So now you don't have, or you couldn't bring the processed wine. Now the Mehalel Shabbat Farhesia is going to make the kiddush on yain hai. What do you want to do now?
You're still saying it on your own.
I'm still saying it on my own. Oh, very nice. I love it. So if you're still saying it on your own, whatever he does, he does.
What are you drinking?
Huh?
What's he drinking?
You're drinking your own.
You're drinking your own.
Back to what you said before.
No, that's a beauty. That's a beauty. By the way, what is something like that? What is an approach like that? An approach like that is clever. It's clever.
Yeah.
Right?
You get away with it.
It's clever, but we have a rule in Judaism. We touched on this when we learned together that peace trumps truth. Peace always trumps truth, right? We learned that together, and we also have to know that our objective is to win and not to be right. It's to win and not to be right. And this is also something that I was taught by my father and by Rabbi Kassin many, many years ago. It's about winning. It's not being right. Winning doesn't mean I'm taking something from somebody else. Winning means I'm achieving something important. I'm achieving something important. So you know what? Be wrong, so to speak, and win. It's only about that.
You win and somebody loses.
If I win, it doesn't mean somebody, I don't know, it means somebody loses. It generally means that the other person wins too. The point is like this. Some people will pound the pavement, Joe. Some people will pound the pavement and say, I'm not doing it. I'm not going back. I'm not doing it because I'm right. And they are. They're 100% right. So if I'm right and he's wrong, why am I going to him? Because the goal is not to be right, the goal is to win. And if winning means we fix a broken relationship, we move a family to another level, we move a community organization ahead, it's only about that. It's always about that. So in the case here, we have the same goal, right? The goal is to keep the family together, to keep the relationship warm. That's our goal. So we want to be, kil achayad. We want to do it, in an indirect way, and to make sure that we're constantly building. Okay, good. So v'im en shan yain mevushal, there's no yain mevushal. And the person didn't have the learning that you have and didn't know that he should have said it quietly by himself,
I
right?
can't drink alcohol, I'll take grape juice.
No, we don't have. Ain't no grape juice. Person didn't say it on his own. Didn't have, or there was, or he would have liked to say it on his own.
Bread.
Huh?
Use the bread.
He's in front of his father. What do you want to do? So let's see. אין שם יין מבושל, ועבר אביו החילוני וקידש על יין שאינו מבושל. What do you want to do? His secular father went ahead and said the kiddush on the non-processed wine. It's a problem. That's a problem. The wine became yain nesech or something like yain nesech. So we have a problem with that. And will we say the chavad? We fulfill our obligations on the kiddush? Yeah.
I think the broader question, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, is how far do we have to go for kibud ava'em in terms of trumping the other things?
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly the point. Perfect. That's exactly the point. How far you want to go with kibud ava'em? Yet now you have a context of kiddush. Kiddush, we hold that that is the oraita for the women. But the assumption is the men prayed arbit in shul, and therefore were mekadesh in the amidah. So therefore they fulfilled their deoraita obligation of the kadesh to Shabbat, right? Zachor obligation in shul. So this is the rabbanan for them, a rabbinic obligation, but it's still a biblical obligation for the women. So the guy who comes with his wife, she's biblically obligated. He still has a rabbinic obligation, which, by the way, is still very not much an obligation. Do they have to say? Does he have to go home and say kiddush again? Let's say he's not going to embarrass his father. Yeah. Again, this is a very awkward situation, but we're trying to create a stack, a value stack in our minds. We're trying to look at sensitive halachic issues and create a value stack, right? So now the kiddush was said. You could say, go in another room, say it again. I don't know. Take a piece of bread so that it's bimkom seudah, so to speak. Okay, yeah, right. Okay, very good. I don't know. Go in another room. Go home and say the kiddush again. Right? Maybe we're going to say that. Listen how he brings. Ve'im en sham yain bevusha ba'avar aviv ha'chiloni. His father, who is a desecrator of Shabbat, kidesh al hayan she'eno mevushal, yatz'u yedei chovat kiddush. Everybody fulfilled their obligation. Why? How do we do that? What happened here to change the reality? Let's see. Chatchila haben yitchamek milit'om hayayin to'omot shonot. The son should try not to taste the wine because technically the wine now has been invalidated. So we're going to say, on the one hand, we're going to talk about it some more, fulfilled our obligation to say kiddush. On the other hand, the Chiloni father drank the wine, and therefore the wine is now either the wine of Goyim or worse. So the son should say, if he didn't have his own cup to begin with, I'm good, Daddy. I don't need any wine. Okay. Aval im yesh chashash, but if there's a concern that if the she'im yimna atzmo melit'om mahayayin, if there's a concern that the son if the son says, I don't want to drink from the wine, הדבר יגרום למחלוקת, לחכתו על אביו מהתורה ושמיעת הרצוות, יכול לסמוך על הפוסקים המקילים וסוברים שמותר ליטול מיין. Wow. What is he saying? Huh?
He's got something to rely on if he
Yeah.
takes the wine.
If he drinks the wine, now it's at least the wine of Goyim. It's worse, maybe the wine of the worship of Goyim, right? Good. He says, if this is going to cause a problem, and it might push your father further away, drink it.
So in other words, the respect for your parents trumps everything.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Not everything, because if he outright told you, turn on the light, whatever.
You don't have to do that. Excellent. You shouldn't do it. Of course not.
This is
So,
just for spiritual, holy things. What about in business? He's a bad guy.
okay, we're going to talk about it. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to, now this week, God willing, we're going to focus on these types of things, where the father is compromised on some halachic level, whether it be halachic in a black and white halakha context, like Shabbat, like we're talking about today, or it be a halachic, he's halachically compromised in a business context. Or an ethical, yeah.
You also have a safek, because it's not yain deser.
Good.
It's kosher wine, and it was, so there's always a possibility of him making teshuvah.
There's a possibility, what?
Like a shot. It's not the same like he's doing. If he told me that he took yain deser mamash, 100% you don't drink, you can't taste it.
Okay, good. Fine, let's see. Very good. Along your lines, we're going to learn it. Very nice. So, im yimna me'atzmo melitom ta. I want you to hear the reasoning, though. In other words, if it was halacha, and we're not saying ever that it's not, you'd say tough nuggies, right? Does anybody say that anymore?
I do it. I say to my kids.
I'm showing my age with that too. The best thing is people tell me, you taught me a long time ago. Remember that class? I said, skip the long time and just tell me about that you remember the class. You don't have to remind me it was a long time. Come on. So it seems like we're using that as our criteria, right? Okay, I just wanted to know. We're using that as a criteria. If he doesn't do it, there will be further distancing with the family. Now I need to look, to Eddie's point, to the people who will make kill on this issue, to the rabbis who are more lenient in terms of how they're categorizing the wine and the fact that the Mechalel Shabbat is using it. So because I have a consideration of the family dynamic, I'm going to look to the more lenient opinion, i.e., because I have a concern of the family dynamic, I'm going to look to the more lenient opinion, which means I have to, right? Who's the chacham? Inab berosho, right? What does that mean? I'm aware. And I understand where this is going, right? We have an interesting case, right? We have an interesting case in the Torah. We have the case of Eshet Shifat To'ar, right? Right? What's the case of Eshet Shifat To'ar?
You go to war, you find a beautiful woman,
Right.
you bring her back.
Right. Israeli men go to war. Generally speaking, in those days, when you went out to war, it could be for years, this, that. There are female prisoners, prisoners. Somebody takes a lady and has relations with her, right? What do you have to do? You have to take her back home. You have to, all that kind of thing. Very good. Make her unsightly, whatever it might be. Very good. You know what the rabbis say? They say that, really, did this ever happen? Probably not. Or if it did, how rare was it? It's similar to the Ben Soreh and Moreh case, in which case the rabbis say they never killed the little boy. He's going to go and kill a little boy. So what are we talking about? What we're talking about in each of those cases, the rabbis say, appreciate what you're going to do and the implications of it 5-6 steps from now, right? The person who, when you make a decision particularly on a family level, and I've certainly failed in this respect. I don't know if anybody else has, but particularly on a family level, when we make a decision, what's this going to look like in 2-3 years? So that's what we're doing here. We're considering the fact of this action now, where is it going? What is it going to mean? And therefore, if you have to sort of swallow it, go to find the lenient opinion. Very good. Okay. יכול לסמוך על הפוסקים המקילים. You can go to the more lenient פוסקים, וסוברים שמותר לטעום מיין שעבר ומזגו מחלל שבת בפרהסיה, כזה הנוהג לקדש להתפלל מדי פעם. You can do it from time to time. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I'm just saying, how far can you go with that?
Right.
You're compromising your values. You're going to start going to get lenient opinions. Okay, this lenient opinion feels good, it works. I'll continue getting more lenient opinions, and
Good.
now I've compromised my values.
Excellent. So go back to my point of a few minutes ago. What do I have? What is my counterbalancing consideration? The family dynamic on one side, my growing children on the other side, right? But it's not exclusively my growing children. People will often say, I have to protect my kids from my in-laws or my parents, something like that. What are you talking
On
about?
top of all of this is respecting mother and father.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why we're here. Because these things happen, and particularly when you have a sense of community and families are large and people are growing religiously, you have these kinds of issues. Yeah.
So we said before in some of the previous classes that you can't listen to a father who's telling you to break halakha. The only thing that I'm seeing different in this case is the potential of embarrassment and negative impact on them within their household.
Embarrassment and negative impact, yes, that's a very big deal. Exactly.
So is that the key?
That's why we're looking for an out here.
So, but does that apply to the other cases, or is that specific?
Of course it does.
Okay.
100%. Very good. Very nice.
It gives us the opportunity also to teach our children, like, we're all Jewish, and they live a different life, but we're tolerant of everyone.
Very good.
And
This is a massive point. This is the massive point. This is the massive point. When people get more religious, this point sometimes gets pushed to the side. Right. Okay. Hold that in your mind, because we're going to keep building that. ספר הלכות גדולות כתב מומר לחלל שבת בפרהסיה דינו כעקום ועושה יין נסך ואסור לאכול משחיתו. A mumar, someone who really goes out and turns his back on Judaism and then goes in Mechalel Shabbat Farhesia. He violates Shabbat in public. We're looking at that person like a goy, and if he picks up wine, he makes that wine yain nesach. Good. V'od b'shut binyan Sion hadashot. L'gaon Rabbi Yaakov Itlinger. She'im Mechalel Shabbat Farhesia Palel b'Shabbat. This is a beautiful point. We don't learn this together, but some of us saw this over the winter. This is a beautiful point. He's bringing an Ashkenazi Rishon, Acharon, I think. He's bringing a great Ashkenazic rabbi, but we see this with our rabbis as well, and I want you to hear this point. Sha'im mechalel Shabbat faresia. Let's say this guy still is mechalel Shabbat, right? But he's mitpalel b'Shabbat. He goes to shul. Umazkir kedushat haShabbat b'tefillah. 1 second. This is the world we live in. This is the real world, man. Don't make things black and white. There's rarely black and white. Rare. It's rare. We run to make things black and white. When you make things black and white, I win, you lose. This is right, that's wrong. Things are rarely that way. And he says like this, the person, let's say the same person who's mechalel Shabbat b'farhesia, he's mitpalel b'Shabbat. He goes to shul and he prays. ומזכיר קדושת השבת בתפילה, מותר לשתות מיין שמזג, שהרי כתב רש"י בחולין, מסכת חולין, דהיינו טעמה שמחלל שבת בפרהסיה דינו כעקום, ומשום שהוא ככופר במעשה בראשית. The reason we're going to call the guy who is mechalel Shabbat, to violate Shabbat in public like a goy, and therefore he would ruin the wine is because Shabbat is the cornerstone of what represents our complete belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creating the world from scratch the way it's described. Yeah? And therefore, if someone is Mechalel Shabbat, it appears as if he's Kofer B'Ikar, right? It appears as if he's pushing back on that idea and doesn't believe in the fact that God created the world from scratch the way it's described. If Shabbat exemplifies that, and the person is Mechalel Shabbat, then you would hold that the person doesn't accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore should be treated like a goy, and therefore his wine's no good. But if the person prays on Shabbat, he already accepted the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world the way it was described, therefore he is not considered a mumad, and we don't have a problem with his wine. Is it ideal? It ain't ideal, but we don't have a problem with the wine. It's beautiful. It's smart. It's thoughtful. It's so easy not to think this way. Open up your mind. You want to win. Win means keeping the family together. Winning means building another human being. Winning means patience and process and consideration. That's what winning means. That's what the trial is all about. Okay, should we out and out compromise on our values? Of course not. But wait a minute. Maybe we could be chachamim. Maybe we could be smart. Maybe we could be thoughtful. And he goes on and he says, כתיב בתורה זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, כששת ימים עשה אדוני שמיים וארץ, ביום השביעי שבת ונפש, והורה לנו הכתוב שעניין השבת הוא שורש האמונה, and so on. And these things are what we say in the tefillah. וכל זה שייך במי שאינו מתפלל כלל, אבל אם הוא מתפלל, ומזכיר בתפילה קדושת השבת, if this person goes and prays and he says in the tefillah, which is what we just quoted from the Torah, that he acknowledges that God created the world, he's not somebody who turned his back on God. He's not in that extreme category, and his wine is not turned into the wine of Goyim. It's beautiful.
It's allowing for all shortcomings. It's allowing for shortcomings.
Yeah.
If you're accepting the major piece and you're not living up to some of the other stuff, you'll get there.
You'll get there. Exactly.
So you can substitute any halacha for the drinking of the wine. That's
Excellent, Joe. Now we're serious. When you have we have families, particularly in our community, that are evolving, that are changing. Thank God. It's great. You know.
But can you substitute any halacha?
You can substitute us, whatever. We can substitute a halacha that validates or promotes in one way or the other a belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his creation and his mastery over the world. Beautiful. It's big. It's smart. It's thoughtful. It's not hatchet man stuff. The hatchet man stuff is easy. It's ignorant.
It allows you to live.
It allows you to live. It allows us to build. Yeah? Very good. Excellent. Okay. וחותם מקדש השבת, and so on. הדבר מוכיח שהוא אכן מאמין בקדושת השבת. When he prays, listen where the rabbi goes on this. It's so true, and it's so not what's in the street. Where does he go on this? He says, הוא הדבר מוכיח שהוא אכן מאמין בקדושת השבת. What is he saying? That when he prays, it validates, it confirms the fact that he does believe in the sanctity of Shabbat. But he doesn't. After he prayed, he got in his car. 1 second. He does that much. That's smart. That's chokhmah. That's how you build. Beautiful. אלא שיצאו תוקפו, תאוות ליבו נתת לו. He says like this. He's not there yet. He grew up a certain way. His yetzer, his inclination is pushing him in a certain direction. But don't assume that if he's not doing X, you can write him off altogether. This is the true Sephardi way. This is the Rabbi Yaakov Itlinger. Ashkenaz. But I'm telling you, this is
We're adopting it.
no, this is the true Sfaradi way. It really is. It's true.
The story of Chacham Yaakov on 67th Street.
Yeah.
We would say, okay, come to shul. Then
I saw it with my father. Chaim Yaakov lived right across the street from us. He sat on his porch and he watched my father get in the car. He sat diagonally across the street. You didn't have to step over. You didn't have to pick your head up too much. It was clear. And did it step by step. Stanley Chira, Abba Shalom, told the story as well. And it happened with our family as well. And it happened with thousands. And I'll tell you something. I remember this vividly. When we were in school and everybody was getting more religious, my Ashkenazi friends' families were being ripped apart. They were literally being ripped apart. Because in some cases there was zero tolerance one side to the other. Zero. And now we were, call us camel jockeys if you want. Call us whatever you want. Right? They used to make fun of us that we're intellectually less demanding than they are. And you know what? Say whatever you want. But the reality is my family is together. And we love each other. And you know what? We're more tolerant. That's what the way we have to live. Okay. Let's do a few more. ויש לצרף לזה מה שכתוב הגאון החזון איש, אוקיי? לגבי דין מומר, דנודע שיש בזה תנאי שלא יהיה אנוס. כמו שכתב הרמב"ם, שביניהם תלמידיהם של הצדוקים, שהדיחו אותם עבדותיהם, ונולדו בין הסוקים, הרי הם כתינוק שנשפע ביניהם, שהרי הם כאנוס. This is another beautiful point, right? What is he saying? What's the concept of אנוס או תינוק שנשפע?
It doesn't count anyway.
תינוק שנשפע is, yeah, say it a little more. What is it?
No, תינוק שנשפע is a person who doesn't understand yet, didn't come to yet.
It's even further than what you guys are saying. What you guys are saying is correct, but it's even further. The Tinok Shenishpa is the baby who was kidnapped, right? We have the concept of Tinok Shenishpa, right? We certain times when a person doesn't know, we look at the person as if he was a baby, kidnapped as a baby and brought up by Goyim, and he doesn't know. So there's a fascinating mahalach in the halacha, fascinating mahalach of today. Does the concept of Tinok Shenishpa apply or not? You have so much overt religion, so many religious sources, so many this, that. Can you still say that Tinok Shenishpa applies?
Sure.
I would say I completely agree with that. Of course it does. Well, what do you mean? There's a shul down the block, and someone can open up the thing, or this or that, and access Torah classes left, right, and sideways.
Yeah,
So what?
On the block that has Pride Shabbat, so
Yeah,
you
right.
don't know what's the right one. You
Yeah.
don't know why they
Right.
wrong.
That's
Define
right.
know.
Huh?
Define know. What does it mean to know?
What does it mean to know?
It can be 100 different things.
It could be 100 different things. So we hold, or most of the rabbis hold, that Tinok Shenishpa applies today. Some of the rabbis in Israel are very rough on this thing, and they say it doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't apply in the land of Israel. It doesn't apply in the state of Israel. Some rabbis say that. A lot of rabbis say it does, but some rabbis say it doesn't apply in Israel because it's the societies are overwhelmingly together on top of each other, and you can't claim anymore that the guy who's Mehalel Shabbat Faresia is like he was stolen away as a baby and never saw this thing, because he sees it every day, every night, every this, every that. He doesn't understand it. He didn't grow up with it. He wasn't taught it. Of course, it's meaningless. I agree. I completely agree. So if you're going to hold that you have a Tinok Shenishpa category today, right? If you're going to hold you have a Tinok Shenishpa category, like a category of a baby where a person is treated like a baby who was kidnapped. Therefore, if he says he's an anus, in other words, something was done to him against his wishes, therefore he can't be held accountable for the fact that he's Mechalel Shabbat. Therefore, when he makes the beracha on the wine, we don't have a problem because he didn't do anything intentional. And even the guy who's intentionally driving, even the point, the rub is where you have to have eyes in your head. The rub is that even if he knows driving is wrong and he's intentionally doing it, we can assume, not all cases, but in many cases, according to the Chazon Ish, and the Chazon Ish is very strong with this point, we can assume that it's as if he didn't know. Eddie and I actually learned this during the year in depth about the concept of Tinok Shenishpa Bismanenu. And if you remember, we learned the Chazon Ish's opinion, which is it absolutely applies in our time. And we're just reiterating that opinion here. Beautiful.
Let's take a different step. What if this father was using the wine and saying it wrong or whatever he's doing, wasn't going to say Kiddush at all?
Right.
Now what does the son do when the father doesn't want Kiddush in his house?
So what do you want to do now? It's a great question. Now the father doesn't want to say Kiddush.
Okay, so you say Kiddush.
Okay, but by him saying Kiddush, by the son saying Kiddush, when the father doesn't say Kiddush, the father is going to be dinged by that.
We don't do that in his house.
So now we're going into another area. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you have to do it at home, you have to figure out a
Okay, beautiful. We're going to talk about this. We're not there yet. I want to move from the gray to the black and white, but we're going to talk about that in another day or two. So we're now talking.
Throw a monkey wrench in or something. Is the edict is totally opposite. Is basic like our edict. Only spotting.
By the way, you know something.
Makes no sense. I mean, according to this logic that you're looking at.
I don't know why. I don't
Why?
know.
Because your Mashiach is coming from a convert.
That's
How
right.
could you say that you don't accept a convert? I'm not saying it for it or against it. Whatever.
Right. So
I'm just saying
it goes like
the
this.
concept.
It goes like this. I personally believe that the edict saved the community. I personally believe that.
I agree.
And it probably means that if there's a true Ger Tzedek, right, who's not coming for marriage, they can still come through our community. But otherwise, I think this community was finished. I really do think it was finished. I think it was the adoption of the edict was really essential for the future of the community. People were making money. People were traveling overseas for months at a time. And I don't know, beautiful world out there.
So like you said,
People were going to the city. People were in all kinds of places. You know what's so interesting? With the edict, there's a lot of terrible things that went on and still go on. A lot of terrible things with the edict. You know why? Because in America, money enables access, enables almost unlimited access. And so the beracha of money enables almost unlimited access, and people do the wrong thing.
That's right. To your point, you said you have to use your eyes.
You have to have eyes in your head. Exactly. Great. בספר אהבת חסד כתב בשם הגאון רבי יעקב מולין שמצווה לאהוב את הרשעים בזמננו, שמצווה לאהוב את הרשעים בזמננו, מפני שהם קודם תוכחה. לפיכך ראוי להחזירם בתשובה ומושכם בדברי שלום עד שיחזרו לאיתן התורה. וכן כתב בבית יוסף וברמה בני הטועים מעשה אבותיהם בידיהם ואהבו הן כתינוק שנשפע. They're saying, these Aharonim are saying that you have to look at people today as people who learned from their fathers. They didn't go out and look to do something against Shabbat. If you're going to tell me that someone is Machalel Shabbat for Hesiyan, he knows what he's doing, you could go on one or two perspectives. You could say that the person is mumar. We held no. We held, according to the rabbis who quoted, there's no such thing as a mumar today. Therefore, if the Mechalel Shabbat father says Kiddush on the non-mevushal wine, we're going to still be Yotzei Yedei Chovah on this thing. Okay? That was our scenario that we brought. This rabbi is saying that today he's going one step further. He's saying not only do we not look at a situation as a mumar, that the person is deliberately going against the Torah, we're saying the other thing, that because they respected and loved the people they came from, they're following their ways. And this was what they were taught. Now let's teach them something else. But you're going to tell me they're deliberately turning against God? They're not.
No, can't be. He's making kiddush to begin with.
He's making kiddush to begin with. Okay, good. Let's do one more important point. V'nei gabei yayin nesach. Ikar adin muvua b'Rashi in Masechet Chulin. The maga, someone who touches wine, who's a mechalel Shabbat, who touches non-boiled, non-processed wine, oseh ota liyayin nesach. Mishum shu kofed ma'aseh b'reshit hakadosh baruch hu. He turns it into wine, the wine of goyim, at least, or at worst, the wine is considered halachically the wine that was used for idol worship, because he's mechalel whatever knowingly, he's kofer be'ikad. Like we said earlier, it's as if he is saying that God didn't create the world. Meid sheker shelo Shabbat hakadosh baruch hu ma'aseh b'reshit. Right, like we said, he is being me'id if he's mechalel Shabbat that hakadosh baruch hu didn't create the world the way it's described in Bereshit, and therefore we don't have Shabbat. He doesn't care about Shabbat. So he's effectively kofer be'ikad. That's why we have a problem with him. And even though he's Jewish, we're going to call him a mumad. But if you remember a few minutes ago, what did we say? That if the person, and we saw this during winter also, that if the person comes to shul, we're going to even say, if the person doesn't come to shul, right? We're not condoning any of these things. If the person doesn't come to shul, but he says the Amidah, in which case he is reminding himself and he's expressing the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world the way it was described. We can't call him someone who turned his back on God. Therefore, he doesn't fall into this extreme category. And even though he's Mechalel Shabbat, we're going to drink his wine and we're going to accept his Kiddush. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay.
How would you describe the one who won't drink the wine?
Oh, fantastic. So now let's wrap up with this. Now we said clearly, Maran is black and white on this thing, that if the father-in-law, whoever it might be, is Mechalel Shabbat Farhesia, we're still not going to call him a mumar. We're not going to call him someone who is thrown off the yoke of God deliberately. We're not going to call him that. So ideally, he shouldn't be making even though, because we have these concerns, so bring yain mevushal. Even though on Shabbat we shouldn't make kiddush on boiled or processed wine, bring boiled or processed wine, so we're bringing the issue down one level. If we don't bring boiled or processed wine, the fact of the matter is, we saw here from a number of the great rabbis, the later rabbis closer to our days, that we're not going to put anybody in this category of someone who's thrown off the yoke of God, and therefore we don't have a problem to begin with. And because we have the overarching consideration of Kibud Avayim and the overarching consideration of Kavod HaBiriyot, of the honor and respect we have for people in general and their sensitivities, we're going to go with this thing. Good. Now, what's your question?
The question is, having said all of that, the son that comes and he's going down a different path refuses to drink the wine.
Very good.
Now what would you
So now what we're going to do? Now what we're going to do is we're going to move into cases where, the son takes a hard stand. The son takes a hard stand.
Or his new wife.
Or his new wife. There's a way to get the baby to the house on Shabbat. There's a way. There is a way. Let's say, I'm not coming. Anyway, I know, honey. But we know halachically there's a way to do this. I'm not coming. Won't be a problem. We're going to talk about it. How do you deal with these things? So now we're going to talk about it from two perspectives. The first perspective we're going to talk about is, well, what if the father is in the wrong? In this case, we said it's gray, and because of the preciousness of family, We worked to find a way to not paint the father into a corner. We did not paint the father into the corner. We said that could be he didn't know. It could be he still doesn't know. It could be he's praying. It could be all of the above, one of the above. We dodged the bullet. But let's say the father is in the corner, painted himself into the corner. Let's say he did. Let's say it is an actual problem. Okay? Let's say it is an actual problem. How are you? Let's say it is an actual problem. Well, and the father is doing something black and white, knowingly, I don't care, won't pray, whatever it might, extreme case. Good. We're going to talk about that case. And on the flip side, we're going to talk about the other case. What if there is an opportunity to do the right thing, well, not to do the exactly right thing, but the close to right thing? Do you have to do it or not? Do you have to find a way to thread the needle or not? Or can I simply say, I don't hold that way, I don't have to do it? We're going to talk about both cases.
The mother of the house refuses to dip the dishes, not her thing.
Okay, good. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to make important diukim between, important distinctions between, like we did today. We made a very important distinction to figure out where this father stands halachically. So we're going to talk about in the case of dipping the dishes, different than this. Is that case different than that? And we have to have eyes in our heads, and we have to look at the whole picture. And you know something? We're not going to compromise on halakha, but if you understand some of the important categorizations of this halakha or not, you know where to put it. And where you have a bigger issue of kibud av va'em or family, if I have kibud av va'em, which is the oraita, versus maybe a drabanan, a rabbinic, or maybe a sa'ad, because if you remember, we learned, where do you want to put sa'ad? Where do you want to put it? Do I put it in the biblical category, where I can't be mitza'er, I can't cause apparent suffering? Is that under the original context of kibud av va'em? We said according to some it is, according to some it's not, it's more rabbinic or just common sense. So we're going to look at all of it into the context. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it this week in a few sessions in a way where we can create buckets of understanding. The same way over here. We understand that you can't categorize the father as either as a knowing person who's throwing off the yoke of God. We cannot, based on this story where the father is Mechalel Shabbat B'Farhesia. He's publicly violating Shabbat, even though he's publicly violating Shabbat, according to Maran and several of the several Rishonim, Acharonim, based in two Gemarot that we brought. We cannot and we do not write him off. We try to find a way around the story. That's not apologetic. That's smart. And that's what we're going to do with a handful of cases on this side and that side. Right? Baruch Adonai Olam, amen, amen. Shavua Tov. Thank you, guys.